Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. The world is a dark place, so we just want to bring you a bit of joy. Once again, I'm Bradley and I'm joined by Stu. How you doing, Stu?
Very well. The sun's shining. I've got not a long weekend, but an early finish today because we finish early on Fridays in the summer, which is very nice. So I'll be chilling out. Yeah.
And are you going to go to town and buy a copy of the big issue from a Royal? They need the money, you know.
Yeah. Desperately poor. Don't have all the land and all the jewels or anything.
They're just like us.
I know, right? Yeah. Practically just like, white van men, aren't they?
There's something crass about the Royals going out and promoting the big issue, which is something that should be promoted. It's not against the big issue. It's not against the homeless. Okay, the big issue should not be a thing. I just want to point that out.
Well, exactly, yeah.
It shouldn't be a thing, but, blessed that there's something that can help people. However, a Royal going out and doing a 45-minute PR stunt when they have hundreds of empty rooms is a bit crass.
I know. It's like when, the PM visited the food banks, and it's just like, yeah, they shouldn't exist, and they exist because it's your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an easy way to make sure people can afford food, and it's the best part of Ubisoft.
There's a good part to Ubisoft? Anyway, go on.
Yeah, the UBI.
There
we go.
Yeah.
You wondered where I was going there, didn't you? I wasn't going to promote sexual assault, don't worry.
Not again.
Not again, no. Right, short one this week, dear listeners. Dear listeners, that's a weird thing. I feel almost like I'm getting professional. Short one this week, due to various different constraints both me and Stu have had. So we're going to get straight into it with games we've been playing, and I'm going to let you, as usual, kick off, Stu.
Well, I've been playing one new game, which is Deathrun TV. And this was one that you flagged up to me quite a while ago, so I stuck it on my wish list. Got it last week. And it's it's an arena shooter, a little bit like Smash TV. Yeah, clearly has a very strong influence. So, yeah, it's got slight roguelike elements to it. You unlock weapons, you unlock different arenas, that sort of thing. And it's broadly different each time you play, although not broadly different. It's only very slightly different each time you play. So they're very, very roguelite elements. But it's got quite a lot of differences to that Eugene Jarvis formula, in that it has lots and lots of different enemy types and different speeds of enemy, whereas obviously Smash TV kept that to a kind of minimum. You had elements and new enemies quite quickly, and then it mixes them up. Lots and lots and lots of different enemy types, lots of different weapons, and it has an arcade mode, which is as you'd expect in a static room, and then you just get piled on. And it also has a kind of story mode, not story mode, but where you go from level to level through these different maze-like constructions, which makes it feel a bit more like Alien Syndrome or something rather than TV. Yeah. Now it's okay. It's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but as you might expect when you're thinking about this kind of stuff, balance is the problem. And there's a reason why, Smash TV and Eugene Jarvis's other games are such classics and stood the test of time, and it's because they were meticulously designed. So how fast the enemies move when they appear in waves, how strong they are per level, what kind of drops you get, all of that. Very, very, very well constrained in the game. So when you have a game where these things can happen randomly, it can be a bit overwhelming. So things can spawn on screen under your feet, they can spawn off screen and shoot at you, they can explode right next to you when you shoot them that you're not aware of, because you're looking at something in your peripheral vision that you're trying to avoid. And if all that sounds like it's just me going, oh, it's too hard, I've got to get good, it isn't that, because I'm pretty good at these kind of games. They're one of my fortes, really. And I've completed Smash TV back in the day on 1 credit. So, not bad at them. But this, it just becomes a little bit of a maelstrom after a while, a bit chaotic. And not in a kind of exciting, it feels like everything's out of control, but really it isn't out of control. It's actually the latter. It's a little bit out of control. So it's great for little short, I'd say, no, not great, but it's good for little short bursts, where you drop in and have a go and see if you can better your scores and stuff like that. The only thing is, I suspect a lot of people will be quite frustrated by how, because it's such a random experience, you can't I'm not sure how much you can progress and how much of it would just be pure luck.
Yeah, because you've got, Smash TV had a structure to it. You kind of felt like the more you played, the better you would get. And when you play games like Binding of Isaac, which is like completely randomised every time you play it, you still feel like you learn enough about enemy types and things like that. And there's no cheap deaths. There are rooms where they're not just like all on screen and you need to traverse them, but you never feel like you get a cheap death. You feel like, okay, yeah, I will learn from that. Whereas it sounds like with this, it sounds like you're telling me doesn't matter how good you could get, there's possibly a cheap death waiting to happen. Yeah,
you get also things, as well as enemies, you get like big chainsaw blades coming out the side, like saw blades coming out the sides of the walls and stuff quite randomly.
Yeah.
And like, so you can't strategize ahead because everything's so random. You can maybe strategize a second or two ahead, and your strategy might be that place in the map is the only safe place for me to take a stand, and then you'll go into that space and then blades will pop out and kill you. So you can't strategize for that, and you can't predict it, and graphically it's not very well differentiated. The colours are not very good. It's all mostly in a kind of bland grey, and there's bluish greys, and there's like, some yellow, and the enemies are kind of yellowish. But that and the blades and the pitfalls and stuff, it all kind of blurs into one. The graphical style is almost exactly like the one from and the name's going to escape me now. You see, this is where a professional would have written it down. Really? The Escapist.
Yes.
So you know that stick figure, a little bit like the guys from South Park, the Canadians.
Yeah. Terrence and Phillip type.
Terrence and Phillip, yeah. The whole thing is done in that sort of a style. So it's not a good-looking game anyway, but you don't really mind that much. But the colour scheme is, it doesn't help. So overall, it's got some good ideas. I think that if you like it, you should be playing Enter the Gungeon or Binding of Isaac, really. And if you don't like those games, you should be playing Smash TV, really.
Yeah. No, I was kind of with you on this in what I've been seeing of it. Initially, on its initial reveal, it looked, this could be really cool. I'm up for a bit of a Smash TV, but from what I'm seeing of it, what you said about it, it just comes across to me like they've tried to reinvent Smash TV when Smash TV doesn't need reinventing. I would have almost preferred a full-on homage to Smash TV rather than what this looks like. Yeah,
there's a recent one as well called... See, my memory today is blown out. Oh, God, what's it called? Xenocrisis,
yes.
That I reviewed on here, which is like a slightly more modern Smash TV. I don't feel like it, Smash TV is aged, personally, but there you go. But it's got like good graphics and it's got some different elements to it, but it is meticulously constructed. Whether you like the game or you don't, it's a designed game. It's not. There's nothing procedurally generated. There's no random drops. It's all constructed, and it works far better because of that. And you're right, you can't just keep going, this type of game hasn't been done for a while. Let's do it, and let's throw in a load of roguelike elements. It's not that easy.
No, not at all. It's, the Smash TV always reminded me of a game that was, if it was made today, would be roguelike, but it's what I call it is an arcade game, isn't it? It's a one-up, coin-op game. It's like you put a credit in, you have a go, you get this far in it. You maybe go back next week to the arcades, put another 50p in and have another run. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to introduce roguelike elements. I'd rather have something that's a well-crafted set levels from start to finish that get progressively harder, etc., etc., and you just repeat that over and over and over and over. And maybe if you really want to add to it, do an easy set, the monkey ball style where you have beginner, intermediate and advanced levels. They're still the same constructed levels, but they get progressively harder and include the first few levels you do in beginner. So there's ways you can do it rather than just going down the roguelike element. But yeah, it's a shame because I had high expectations for this one, and I'm not, for the price it is as well, I'm not desperate. Maybe in a fanatical bundle down the line, possibly. Yeah, it's one to sit on, and if you're absolutely desperate for the next kind of hit from that kind of type of roguelike shooter, then get it when it's cheap, maybe. Yeah, no, I'd go with that as well. So, moving on. I've been playing another homage style of old style game brought back in another one. Well, it's a Metroidvania I've been playing, and it's called Souldiers. As in, I've got soul, and I've been playing Souldiers. Yeah, that'll work.
That'll do.
And Jesus Christ, I didn't do a segue this week.
Oh man, you're letting the side down.
It's like not having a soul. Do you know what it's like having a soul? Video games.
What's that?
There you go.
Hey, there we are.
And I've been playing Souldiers. Ugh.
Nice.
I thought something felt off. That's probably why you had a coughing attack.
Probably. That won't make sense to anyone who, now that I've got to cut it out.
No. But there you go. No, keep it in because it's fun. Like a mystery world. Anyway, Souldiers. It's a in many ways, it's a bog standard Metroidvania, and it wears its heart on its sleeve, its influences on its sleeve, and for all intents and purposes, it's a fine game. It's kind of all I can say about it is that it's a fine game. It picks up what you get from, Metroid, your Castlevanias and other Metroidvania clones that have happened in the past, number of years as well. You got platforming, you get weapons, you can upgrade those weapons, get different weapons, take different approaches, there's different types of enemies, there's boss enemies, there's a skill tree, you can go to places you previously couldn't, etc, 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 and it just works well. But it doesn't do anything spectacular. I played it and I enjoyed it, and there's some good characters in there with a little bit of story, which I ended up just ignoring because I don't care. And it gets difficult in places, but it's all about sort of getting you better so you can take on different challenges. And it's just not memorable. It's such an odd one. It's got a decent soundtrack and everything and everything about it just, if I was to do a bullet point and mark it based on bullet points, it'd get a really good score. I'd be if I was scoring, I'd be like, yep, this is up towards the 8s and 9s possibly. But yeah, I kind of forgot I had it to play.
Yeah.
And then when I went back and went, have I played this? I went, oh yeah, I enjoyed it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just really weird. It ticks every box. But I think the problem this has now, if this was released 4 years ago, it would be absolutely up there, everyone talking about it. Honestly, I believe that. The fact it's been released in 2022, yeah, I've seen it and I've done it, and it tries to do different things, but it just doesn't do enough for me. It doesn't bring enough to the table to make it really worth my time to play and go over or anything like that. Again, I mean, I'll just tick off the points, I suppose. The combat's really good. I often struggle with like parrying and stuff like that in a lot of games. Quite intuitive here. It works. There's good cues to it. So I'm able to work out when I should parry, when I shouldn't parry. And there's, you know, it's the world. It's not as built up as like a Dark Souls, where you could be in one area and you could go, oh my god, I was there earlier, or oh no, I'm going to end up over there later. But it feels like it all fits together really well, like a well constructed puzzle in a way.
Yeah,
the visuals are really good. It's, you know, it's the 16-bit aesthetic that you expect. The puzzles are just balanced just right. So they're not easy, and you're like, I'd rather they weren't here, but they're not overly difficult. You know, you get, as you increase your skill sets, you could get to higher areas or out of reach areas. It's just all just that fits really, really well. And the enemy types are different enough as well. You know, you don't feel like you're just fighting minion after minion throughout and then the odd boss. There's really good variety. But that being said, I forgot about it once I finished playing it. And I can't explain why. Because people should play it. It's a good game, really good game. But I just don't think it stands out as it might have done a couple of years back.
Well, it's in a really, really crowded market, isn't it? And it does have to do something new. And it's probably... It's because of that gap in the Metroidvanias, mainly Metroid, that made people rush to fill it. But it's not been AAA developers who've rushed to fill it. And like with Metroid Dread coming out and being so good, I know that some people aren't as enamoured of it as I am, but by and large, I think people recognise that it's really great. It's even harder to carve out in that space, and I think being an indie developer or a small studio, you're just not going to be able to produce what you need unless you've got a really good take on it. And I think what Wonder Labyrinth does so well, I think I'm nearly near the end of that now, after about 6 hours. So it's a nice, short, arcadey game. Yeah. But the key word there is arcade, is that you're not constantly going into menus and swapping out your stuff, and you're not constantly going to skill trees and having to decide what to level up. And it's just a kind of like, classic arcade. You get bolt-ons to what you've got, and you get the occasional weapon that is, clearly better than the weapon that you had before. And it's just, you run through it with almost practically no RPG layer at all. And it's all about the exploration and the combat. And, that if you're going to do it and you build a really sharp, responsive combat system like that, make the map reasonably sized, not massive. Shadow Complex is a good comparison as well, about the same length. Do it like that. Don't go, right, we are making, it's going to have skill trees, it's going to have this gigantic map, it's going to be 16-bit aesthetic, it's going to fill in all the gaps that the Metroid games left behind, and our budget is $500,000. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You talk about Shadow Complex, and I think that got timings right as well. I think it came out at the perfect time, on the right system to do it. But, I kind of, I'm looking on my Steam Deck, games I've got to play when I go into my Metroidvania collection. And the reason it's so forgettable is I've got Hollow Knight, which, okay, it's not my favourite Metroidvania, but it's still memorable. Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Dead Cells, Dust and Elysian Tale, that stood out to me at the time. Blasphemous, that stands out. Axiom Verge, That stands out. You know, they are excellent games. I've got Rogue Legacy on my wish list. Yoku's Island Express done something really different and it stood out. Tunic, even, as a Metroidvania, it's different and it stands out. This just isn't different. It ticks all the boxes, but it doesn't do anything to make me go, I must play this over the other Metroidvanias I've got.
No, and they're all really good examples that you picked out, especially Dead Cells, which is like the Hades of side-scrolling, side-scrolling recent Metroidvanias. It's the high point by which you can judge pretty much anything, and most of them fall short. But I would say, Souldiers is on my list.
Yeah.
And the only reason I didn't buy it is because I just bought Wonder Labyrinth, and I'm like, I'm not going back to back on Metroidvanias, no chance. So I'm glad that you told me that it's just kind of solid and okay. I'll leave that for a while, I reckon.
Yeah, I hate saying this. It's like a wait for a sale or get it in a bundle. And to be honest as well, what it looks like to me, it feels like this is going to be on a Humble Bundle or something sooner rather than later. That's not a bad thing, because I honestly think this is the sort of game that, to get into people's hands, needs to be as part of a bundle rather than selling it for, what is it? I think it's like 15 quid, rather than selling it for full price out the gate, because that's a fair bit of money to spend on yet another Metroidvania. A good one, but I think it's hard to make a bad Metroidvania at the same time. You've got to really mess it up. And if you don't mess it up, you make a solid Metroidvania. This is better than solid. It's good. It's just not memorable or something I want to play over what I've already got. Yeah. I mean, I've got loads of good ideas for a Metroidvania, but even if I put them all in and they all worked out and the engine worked well, it would still only be another Metroidvania. Yeah. And it does need people to take a step away, I think, and think, should we just be making something else? I think, I think one of the problems is that the roguelike and roguelite stuff possibly came out of that Metroidvania thing of, it's one of the things that's been underutilized. We can really exploit this area, and then that just became the default. And what should be the default, by my reckoning, my humble reckoning, not humble bundle reckoning, is that everything should be an arcade game by default. And if you want to add more sophistication to it from there, go for it. But build a really good arcade experience at first, and just make it exciting and fun to play. And then if you feel that you can and need to add more to it after that, then do it. Exactly. I think you need to ask, why do you need skill trees? What can you use instead of a skill tree? Yeah. That's do you need the skill tree to mask game length or arbitrary difficulty? Can you not do it via pickups or naturally progress the character? If people want to ask me, I tell you a really, really good Metroidvania that never gets mentioned as a great Metroidvania. That's the new Tomb Raider trilogy.
Right.
The first one, the actual first Tomb Raider remake, I honestly think is one of the best 3D Metroidvanias ever released. It works, and Lara picks up skills as she goes. She picks up new tools which help her get to other places. That's what I think a Metroidvania on a 2D level could try and do. Skill trees, I don't actively hate them when they're done well, but they're not always done well. This does it well, but again, I'm not excited over a skill tree. That doesn't make it exciting. But I don't want to feel like I'm just putting the boot in. It's a good game. If you've not had your fill of Metroidvanias and you haven't got a ton of others that you're still working your way through, give it a go. You will get a fun time out of it. But for someone who's played a lot of them and plays a lot of those and roguelikes, it just doesn't excite me enough.
Yeah. Here's an idea for a really good one, Metroidvania. One set in the Resident Evil universe.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think it'd be really good. So you could have, you've got all those iconic monsters like you have you now have in Castlevania, and you could have some that are able to follow you from room to room and area to area to keep the tension going, and
like a nemesis.
Yeah, exactly. And you could have the the puzzle system to get past some areas rather than just needing power-ups. And I think that would work pretty well.
Ooh. I actually want to see that in a Tunic style, graphic style as well.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, right, we're not making games, we critique games, because if we make a game, people could critique us. We don't want that.
I definitely don't want that.
No, I can't cope with that. Also, just to point out, last week's episode was called like the OnlyFans Meat Hammer, but it was episode 1-to-1. So on my tab at the moment, because I've got last week's podcast tab open, it just says 1-to-1 OnlyFans, which sounds like some dodgy TV chat line show thing. 1-to-1 OnlyFans.
You're just trying to get your excuses in now for having OnlyFans tabs open.
No, honestly, it says podcast 1-to-1 OnlyFans. I wouldn't hide my OnlyFans tabs. That's on my phone. Anyway, whoa. But that's it. I mean, by the way, it works really well on the Steam Deck. It's not verified for Steam Deck, but it runs absolutely perfectly. Just to get that in there as well.
Good shout. Deathrun TV runs really well. I think it's one of those games that doesn't give you graphical options.
Yep.
I don't know why. It's very strange. And some of the text scaling is a bit odd for the resolution that you're running it at. But apart from that, it works absolutely perfectly on the Steam Deck.
Cool. Excellent. Right. Because it's a short one, I thought I'd have one quick finish off. Let's call it a happy ending. No, let's not call it that. No. Just one game you've been playing for fun, Stu. Just what you've been playing.
What are you playing?
Well, I've been continuing to play Wonder Labyrinth, as I mentioned, and also Days Gone. And I think I'm not too far off the end game now, because I've put about 30 hours into it. So, yeah, not far off.
Excellent. For me, two things. One, Prey. I've decided to boot that up on my one because I've got space to actually put more than one AAA style, like, big game on a card now. So Prey, yep. My word, that's a good game. Difficult. It's not easy, but really good on the Steam Deck. It's the only reason I'm playing it. It's because I've got it on the Steam Deck, and it's teaching me to get used to the touchpad mouse as well.
Cool.
That's going to be a game changer down the line for me, I think, once I get used to it. But I've also been playing I've broken open my Steam Deck and put in a new hard drive game, and it worked.
Hey, nice.
Against all logic, it worked. So I've managed to get all my emulation stuff back on there, which is really good. And I haven't got to choose now, so I've got a whole bunch of Switch stuff, PS2 stuff, Dreamcast, all some really good stuff on there. So I can then relegate all my GBA and Game Boy Color, Game Boy games, Game Gear games, all of those to my Ember-Nick. I just keep that for old 8-bit and 16-bit games, and then everything else will go on the Steam Deck. And yeah, and then tinkering with making sure I can find covers for them and stuff like that as well, which I can't for all of them, so I've been making those. Because why would I play the games when I can tinker?
Precisely. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I've done that. I tinkered and got my whole entire PC set up with pretty much every game I would ever want on RetroArch and all various different emulators. Got it all there and went, right, what should I do next? Because I'm not playing them. That's just why?
Why?
I don't play games. You collect and hoard them for no reason whatsoever.
That's the way.
But yeah, no, that's it. I had been playing. I booted up. What did I boot up? I've got a lot of time. Dino Crisis on Dreamcast.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot how good that game is. Really enjoyed it. So just remaster Dino Crisis with a bit of quality of life control movements. That'll do. Even go with the old style graphics. It's fine. Really good game. But yeah, I'll be playing that again. Well,
I can highly recommend that after you finish with that, you go on to Onimusha, the Onimusha series.
Oh, I might. I've played one of those, and I don't know which one.
Well,
I've
they're
definitely
all pretty
played
good.
one of them. Yeah. I dare say they are. But it's one of those where, I've played one of them, and I don't know why I've not played the others.
Yeah.
No reason whatsoever. But do you know what? I'll rectify that.
Sounds good to me.
I can't think of anything else to actually say, because anything else I say now is going to go like deep, and I know we've got to finish off very soon. So, do you know what I'm going to do, Stu? I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to shut up.
Good. Well, that was a very brief one, but yeah, various reasons why not. Do you know, whilst I was just before, I ran down to get a drink just before we started the podcast, and my copy of Mario Strikers had arrived. So if it had arrived an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours earlier, I would have been able to give a little bit of a review, but no, you have to wait for a whole week. But there you go. But apart from that, hope everybody stays safe and stays sane, and we will catch you next week.